Be still, not because life has stopped moving, but because something within you is ready to be heard. There are moments that do not arrive with noise. They do not announce themselves with spectacle. They come quietly like dawn, soft at first, almost unnoticed. Yet once they are here, nothing remains the same. This is one of those moments, not because something outside you has finally aligned, but because you are. For a long time, you believed your breakthrough was ahead of you, that it would come after enough effort, enough learning, enough correction, enough waiting. You believed it lived in the future, just beyond your reach. But the truth has always been simpler and more exact. Your breakthrough is not an event, it is a realization. And realization happens now, before action, before proof, before circumstances rearrange themselves. Scripture said it plainly, though few understood it. The kingdom of God is within you, not approaching you, not rewarding you, within you. And everything changes when what you've been seeking outside is recognized inside. This is where the shift begins. Not with motivation, but with clarity. Not with force, but with alignment. Not with becoming, but with remembering. You were never meant to struggle your way into transformation. Struggle only reinforces the identity that believes something is missing. And what you reinforce, you repeat. Your breakthrough comes when the struggle ends. This is not resignation. This is authority, because authority comes from knowing the law that governs reality and no longer arguing with it. Reality does not respond to desperation. It responds to state. It responds to who you are being. Christ demonstrated this without explanation. He did not plead with the world. He spoke from alignment. He moved from certainty. He acted from identity. I and the Father are one, not metaphor, position. Science now confirms what mysticism lived. The nervous system does not respond to hope. It responds to assumption. The brain does not organize around wishes. It organizes around what is accepted as true. Now the body prepares for the reality it believes it is already in. And this is why effort alone fails. Effort says I am not yet. Alignment says I am. The subconscious always chooses the present tense. So your breakthrough does not arrive when you finally get what you want. It arrives when you stop being someone who needs it to feel complete. This is the paradox. The moment you release the identity of lack, supply appears. The moment you release the identity of waiting, movement begins. The moment you release the identity of becoming, being takes over, and being is creative power. This is why Neville Goddard said, imagination creates reality. Not imagination as fantasy, but imagination as assumption. The quiet embodied acceptance of a state as real, not excitement, not intensity, naturalness. When something feels natural, it dominates. This is where your breakthrough is happening now. Not in what you are trying to change, but in how you are standing inwardly toward life. Notice this right now. As you listen, something in you is calmer than it used to be, more aware, less frantic, less desperate to fix. That is not coincidence. That is alignment forming. Alignment always precedes manifestation. And manifestation does not need your supervision. Your role was never to force outcomes. Your role was to select identity. So now the teaching moves inward. Ask yourself without judgment, without analysis, who am I being when I face my life? Are you being the one who waits, the one who doubts, the one who prepares for disappointment? Or are you ready right now to be the one who trusts? Trust is not blind belief. Trust is understanding the law, understanding that consciousness precedes form, understanding that feeling instructs reality, understanding that what you accept inwardly becomes expressed outwardly. This is why prayer was never begging. Prayer was assumption. Believe that you have received already, because once the state is accepted, the effect must follow. Must. Law does not negotiate. So your breakthrough does not depend on timing. It depends on consent. Consent to release the old posture. Consent to let go of the version of you that survives on tension. Consent to occupy a new state even before the world confirms it. This is where courage is required. Not courage to fight, but courage to rest. Rest in the assumption that life is not against you. Rest in the assumption that what you need is already moving toward you. Rest in the assumption that you are supported by an intelligence that does not make mistakes. This rest is not inactivity, it is non-inference. Interference delays what alignment accelerates. You begin to notice now that when you stop rehearsing fear, clarity arrives. When you stop demanding certainty, guidance appears. When you stop trying to control the path, the next step becomes obvious. This is the rhythm of breakthrough, quiet, pray, inevitable. And as this rhythm settles, your behavior changes without force. You speak differently, you choose differently, you respond instead of react. You no longer need to prove yourself to life because you are no longer asking life to confirm your worth. Worth was never conditional. This is why compassion begins to rise. You become gentler with yourself, kinder with others, less judgmental. Not because you are trying to be good, but because inner conflict is dissolving. Scarcity makes people sharp. Alignment makes people spacious. You are becoming spacious, and space allows miracles to move, not spectacular miracles, real ones, the quiet kind, the kind where the right person calls, the right idea arrives, the right door opens without drama. You look back later and realize this was the moment everything turned, not because something happened, but because you shifted, and now the closing movement begins not as an ending, but as a settling. You no longer need to seek a breakthrough. You are inside it. You feel it as steadiness. You feel it as clarity. You feel it as the absence of panic. The mind may still speak, circumstances may still fluctuate, but something deeper remains unchanged. You are anchored now. Anchored in awareness, anchored in truth, anchored in the understanding that life responds to who you are being, not who you are trying to become. So let this moment land. Do not rush it. Do not analyze it. Do not try to capture it. Just allow it. Allow the old tension to fall away. Allow the new orientation to stabilize. Allow the next chapter to unfold without force. Your breakthrough is not coming. It is here. It arrived the moment you stopped waiting for permission to step into alignment. Be still now. Not because the journey ends, but because you finally trust the ground beneath your feet. From this place, everything moves differently, and it begins now. You let it meet you. There is a subtle courage in staying present when something sacred is unfolding. The old habit was to grasp, to immediately ask what comes next, how to use this moment, how to secure it so it doesn't slip away. But breakthroughs do not respond to grasping. They respond to allowing. You are learning that now. This breakthrough does not ask you to change your entire life overnight. It asks you to change the place you are living from. And when the place changes, everything downstream reorganizes naturally. This is why so many miss their moment. They expect lightning. But truth arrives like gravity, quiet, constant, undeniable. Once recognized, you feel it now as a subtle firmness inside you. A kind of inner yes, not loud, not emotional, but clear. Clear enough to stop negotiating with fear. Clear enough to stop rehearsing old stories. Clear enough to stop postponing your own permission. For the first time in a long while, you are no longer standing outside your life trying to improve it. You are inside it, present, attentive, receptive. This is where power lives. Power does not shout. Power does not rush. Power does not explain itself. Power rests. And from rest, action becomes precise. You will notice this in the days ahead. Decisions will feel cleaner. You will sense when to move and when to wait without mental debate. Conversations will unfold with less defense. You will stop overcorrecting yourself mid-step. This is not carelessness. This is coherence. Coherence between thought and feeling. Coherence between belief and behavior. Coherence between identity and direction. When coherence appears, resistance dissolves. And resistance was the only thing ever in the way. You are beginning to understand something that cannot be forced into words. That your life was never blocked. You were misaligned. And misalignment was never punishment. It was simply feedback. Feedback that you were trying to live from a version of yourself that had already expired. That version needed struggle to feel legitimate. That version needed delay to feel realistic. That version needed proof to feel safe. But you are no longer living there. You are living from a quieter center now. A center that does not need to dramatize growth to feel real. A center that trusts movement even when it is subtle. This is why your breakthrough feels calm. Calm is the signature of truth recognized. If it were frantic, it would be ego chasing relief. If it were overwhelming, it would be identity collapsing. But this is grounding. You are not losing yourself. You are finding the place you have always stood. And from this place, your relationship with effort changes. Effort no longer feels like self-coercion. It becomes expression. You do what needs to be done, but without self-violence. You move forward without dragging guilt behind you. Guilt dissolves when you stop pretending you are late. You were never late. You were learning, and learning has its own timing. Now, as this realization continues to integrate, you may feel an urge to simplify, to release what no longer fits, to say no where you once said yes out of fear, to say yes where you once hid. These impulses are not random. They are alignment expressing itself. Do not rush them. Do not resist them. Let them guide you gently. Your breakthrough is not demanding a performance. It is inviting participation. Participation in life without armor. Participation without constant self-monitoring. Participation without the belief that one mistake could undo everything. Nothing real is that fragile. Truth stabilizes itself, so trust the stability you feel now. Trust the quiet conviction replacing doubt. Trust the sense that you no longer need to prove readiness. You are ready. Precisely because you have stopped trying to convince yourself. This is what it means to be established. Established not in outcomes but in being. And being is the source from which all outcomes flow. So remain here, not frozen, not passive, simply present. Let the next step reveal itself when it is meant to. Let action arise from clarity instead of pressure. Let life respond to alignment rather than effort. Your breakthrough is unfolding exactly as it should. It did not come to disrupt you. It came to steady you. And from steadiness, everything else follows. Quietly, naturally, faithfully, stay with it. This moment is doing more than you realize. You let the depth of this moment work on you the way sunlight works on the earth. Slowly, silently, inevitably, no command is given. No announcement is made. And yet, something fundamental is being rearranged at the root. This is how real change happens. Not when the mind finally agrees, but when the body stops resisting. You may notice now how your breathing has changed, how the jaw loosens, how the shoulders no longer hold the same quiet tension. These are not small things. The body only relaxes when it senses safety, and safety only appears when identity shifts from threat to trust. You are safe to move forward now, not because nothing will challenge you, but because challenge no longer threatens who you are. This is the difference. Before, difficulty felt personal. Before, obstacles felt like verdicts. Before, delay felt like rejection. But now, difficulty feels informational. Obstacles feel directional. Delay feels preparatory. Your breakthrough did not remove challenge, it removed interpretation. And interpretation was the weight. You are no longer reading every moment as a judgment on your worth or your timing. You are reading it as guidance, as adjustment, as life, communicating with intelligence rather than opposition. This changes how you respond. You respond with curiosity instead of panic, with discernment instead of defense, with patience instead of pressure. Patience is not waiting helplessly. Patience is trusting movement you cannot yet see. And you trust now, not because you were told to, but because something in you recognizes order, recognizes pattern, recognizes that what once felt chaotic was only misunderstood. Nothing was random. Even the seasons of struggle carry precision. They taught endurance. They revealed attachments. They exposed beliefs that could not follow you into this next state. They did their work. And now you are free to move without dragging them forward. This freedom is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not intoxicating. It is steady. Steadiness is the hallmark of integration. When something truly integrates, it does not need reinforcement. It becomes background orientation, a quiet compass you do not think about but always follow. This breakthrough is becoming that for you now. Not something you revisit, but something you live from. You will notice it when you face decisions that once confused you and clarity appears without debate. You will notice it when you encounter old triggers and they no longer pull you fully into reaction. You will notice it when you speak and your words feel grounded rather than defensive. These are not techniques at work. This is identity stabilizing. You are stabilizing in a version of yourself that does not need to be pushed forward by fear. A version that does not need external permission to trust inner guidance. A version that knows the difference between effort and interference. And this knowing makes you gentler with time. You stop measuring progress in dramatic leaps. You recognize growth in subtle shifts, in how quickly you return to calm, in how little energy you spend resisting what is, in how naturally you act from alignment. These are the real metrics. because the most powerful transformations are not loud. They are irreversible. You are no longer trying to break through. You have broken into something, into coherence, into grounded awareness, into a way of living that does not require constant correction. This does not mean you will never doubt again. It means doubt will no longer define direction. It will arise, be seen, and pass without hijacking your sense of self. You are no longer hostage to every thought. This is liberation, and liberation brings responsibility. Not the heavy kind, but the sacred kind, responsibility to remain honest with your inner state, responsibility to choose alignment over reaction, responsibility to move when clarity arrives and rest when it doesn't. This responsibility is not a burden, it is dignity. Dignity is living as though your inner life matters, because it does. So as this moment continues to unfold, let it do its quiet work. Let it settle deeper than motivation. Let it become posture. Let it become the way you meet the world when no one is watching. Your breakthrough is not something you carry with you. It is something you stand on, and from this ground your next steps will not require force. They will arise one at a time, at the right pace, with the right support. Stay present. You are not missing anything. You are exactly where alignment becomes life. Certainty is not something you chase anymore. It is something that forms beneath your feet as you stand still long enough to feel it. You begin to sense that the breakthrough was never meant to lift you out of reality, but to anchor you more deeply within it. You are not floating above your life. Now you are inhabiting it, fully awake, present, unafraid of what you might discover in the stillness. This is the courage most never cultivate. The courage to stop running. The courage to stop rehearsing. The courage to stop needing constant reassurance that you are on the right path, because you feel it not as excitement, not as urgency, but as a quiet inner alignment that does not waver when circumstances fluctuate. You notice how little you need to defend yourself now. How the impulse to explain, justify, or prove has softened, not because you have withdrawn, but because you are grounded. Grounded people do not need to shout. Grounded people do not need to convince. Grounded people move with a certainty that is felt rather than declared. This certainty changes how you listen. You are no longer listening to respond, to correct, to protect your position. You listen to understand, and understanding changes everything. Understanding dissolves resistance. Resistance dissolves struggle. Struggle dissolves identity built on pain. You are shedding weight you carried for so long. You thought it was part of you. It wasn't. It was a posture learned in survival, and survival is no longer your orientation. You are living now. Living does not mean comfort at all times. Living means presence at all times. You allow emotions to rise without making them rulers. You allow uncertainty without turning it into danger. You allow growth without demanding it happen on your schedule. This allowance is not weakness, it is wisdom. Wisdom understands that life unfolds in layers, that some things cannot be rushed without being damaged. That clarity often requires space, not pressure. You are giving yourself that space now, and in that space, insight continues to emerge, not as revelation, but as recognition. You recognize patterns you once repeated unconsciously. You recognize choices you once made out of fear. You recognize moments where you abandoned yourself in order to feel safe. You do not judge these recognitions. Judgment would tether you to the past. You simply see them, and in seeing they lose power. Seeing is enough. This is the gentlest form of healing. Not reliving, not rehashing, not fixing, but seeing clearly from a new position. The position of someone no longer inside the storm. Someone standing on solid ground, watching the weather pass. From this ground, your imagination changes tone. It no longer tries to escape the present. It begins to work with it. You imagine from stability, not from longing, from trust, not from desperation. And what you imagine from stability has weight, because imagination aligned with being becomes instruction to reality. This is the science beneath prayer. This is the law beneath faith. This is the mechanism Christ lived rather than explained. You are learning to live it now, not by memorizing principles, but by embodying posture, a posture of trust, a posture of receptivity, a posture of quiet authority, authority that does not dominate, authority that does not control, authority that simply knows where it stands. This authority will guide you in moments where logic alone cannot. It will tell you when to speak and when to wait, when to move, and when to pause, when to hold, and when to release. And because it arises from alignment, it will never rush you into regret. This is the gift of breakthrough. Not that everything suddenly makes sense, but that you no longer fear what doesn't. Fear was the real block, fear of being wrong, fear of wasting time, fear of missing your moment. That fear is loosening. Now you realize there was never only one moment, there was always this one. This one where you stop fighting yourself. This one where you stop postponing peace. This one where you finally allow life to meet you where you are. And because you are finally here, fully here, life responds. Not always immediately, not always dramatically, but faithfully you will see it in the days ahead. In the way things line up without force, in the way decisions resolve themselves, in the way your inner world remains steady even when the outer one is moving. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Confirmations that your breakthrough was real, not because something changed outside, but because you did. So stay with this. Do not rush to label it. Do not rush to use it. Do not rush to move past it. Let it settle. Let it become the place you return to when noise rises. Let it become the ground you stand on when uncertainty appears. Let it become the lens through which you see yourself in the world. Your breakthrough is not fragile. It does not need protection. It needs presence. And you are present now. That is enough. And from here, everything continues to unfold exactly as it should. Gratitude for being here, for finally arriving inside your own life, for no longer standing at war with the present moment. This gratitude is not emotional excitement. It is recognition. Recognition that nothing essential was ever missing. Recognition that you were never broken. Recognition that the delay you once feared was actually preparation. Preparation for this moment of clarity. You see now that your breakthrough did not come to make life easy. It came to make life honest. Honest with yourself. Honest with your inner world. Honest with what truly matters. And honesty simplifies everything. You no longer chase 10 different directions hoping one will save you. You move from a centered place. You make fewer promises, but you keep the ones you make. You listen to your inner no as carefully as your inner yes. This is self-respect. Self-respect is not ego, it is alignment with truth. And truth, when honored, becomes a stabilizing force in your life. It keeps you from betraying yourself in moments of fear. It keeps you from abandoning your values in moments of pressure. It keeps you rooted when the world pulls in many directions. Rooted people are not rigid. They are resilient. Resilience comes from knowing where you belong internally. You belong here in presence, in awareness, in the quiet confidence that you are guided even when the path is not fully visible. So when doubt appears, as it will, you no longer panic, you meet it gently. You recognize it as an old reflex, not a prophecy. You do not argue with it. You simply return to what you know. Return to breath. Return to stillness. Return to the understanding that you do not need to solve your entire life today. You only need to live this moment from alignment. Alignment is always enough. And because it is enough, you stop withholding yourself from life until conditions improve. You stop saying, once this changes, then I'll be at peace. Peace is no longer a reward. It is a choice you are practicing now. This choice changes how you move forward. You take action without desperation. You rest without guilt. You trust without blind faith, trust grounded in experience. Experience that showed you again and again that when you stop resisting, life meets you halfway. That when you stop forcing, clarity emerges. That when you stop waiting for permission, doors open quietly. This is the rhythm you are learning to live by. Not frantic, not passive, responsive to inner truth, responsive to intuition, responsive to the subtle cues of alignment that guide you more accurately than fear ever could. And now, as this moment settles fully into you, there is nothing left to seek in it. No lesson to extract, no command to obey, no transformation to prove. Just a gentle knowing, a knowing that you crossed a threshold, not into perfection, but into presence, not into certainty, but into trust, not into the end of struggle, but into the end of fighting yourself. This is your breakthrough, not a dramatic event to look back on, a new way of standing in the world. So stand here now, let the breath move freely, let the body rest, let the mind quiet without force. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing anything. You are here. And from here life continues, not against you, not without you, but through you quietly, faithfully, one aligned moment at a time. Be still. This is enough, and it is already working. Not because the movement ends, but because you no longer need to chase it. You are standing in the place where effort dissolves into understanding, where striving gives way to trust, where the mind finally relaxes because it recognizes it does not have to carry the weight of becoming. This is not a pause in your life. This is alignment within it. You move forward from here without urgency, without the old tension that said, I must hurry or I will miss my moment. You know now that the moment cannot miss you because it arises from who you are being. So you walk gently. You choose deliberately. You live attentively, not trying to prove growth, not trying to secure the future, simply honoring the clarity that has settled into you. And when the world grows loud, again as it will, you know exactly where to return, not to escape, but to remember. To remember that your breakthrough was never something you waited for. It was something you allowed. Allowed by releasing resistance. Allowed by trusting alignment. Allowed by standing fully present in your own life. Nothing more is required. The ground beneath you is firm. The path ahead will reveal itself step by step. The intelligence that brought you here will continue to guide you. So be still now. Let this truth sink beneath thought. Let it become posture. Let it become the way you meet tomorrow. Your breakthrough has already occurred, not as noise, not as force, but as a quiet, unshakable knowing. You are ready and life at last moves with you. There is a power within you, a force so absolute that it shapes the very fabric of your reality. It is not outside of you, not in the circumstances that surround you, but in the consciousness you embody. The world you see is nothing more than a reflection of the state you occupy. Change the state and the world must conform. You do not wait for proof. You do not beg for signs. You assume, you embody, and you walk in the certainty that all you desire is already yours. You do not hope for wealth, for love, for success. You live as though they are already a part of you. Not with pretense, not with effort, but with the deep knowing that what you claim in mind must manifest in form. You do not chase, you do not grasp, you do not seek confirmation. You act from the end as the one who already possesses it. The world may call it delusion, but the world only sees the outer shell of things. The one who understands the law knows that all appearances are but shadows cast by the unseen. If you wish to be loved, you must walk as the one who is already adored. You do not need validation, for you carry within you the certainty of your worth. If you wish to be wealthy, you do not worry about lack, for the wealth is already yours in consciousness. You move, you speak, you think as one who has everything, not in arrogance, but in quiet confidence. For the one who truly has does not need to prove it. The feeling is the secret, the conviction, the unseen claim that draws all things into alignment. Your senses may tell you otherwise. They may whisper of lack, of absence, of limitation, but the senses are the servants of the mind, not its master. You do not react to what appears. You impose the truth of your assumption upon the world. You persist unwavering until what was once invisible becomes undeniable fact. You have already received all that you desire. You do not need permission to claim it. Walk as though you have it now, and reality must follow. Your reality is a reflection of your state of consciousness. Everything you see, experience, and encounter in your daily life is a direct manifestation of the thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions you hold within. The world outside is not separate from you, but an extension of your inner world. Change how you see yourself, how you perceive your circumstances, and the world must shift in response. You are not a passive observer of reality. You are its creator. What you consistently accept as true within your mind shapes the conditions you experience. Most people believe that circumstances dictate their state of mind. They allow the external world to control how they feel, react, and live. If they see lack, they believe in lack. If they experience rejection, they assume they are unwanted. They wait for the world to change before they feel different. But this is an illusion. The world is only mirroring back what they are dominantly conscious of. The mind is the source, the world is the effect. The mistake is in thinking the effect has the power to change the cause. To truly understand this principle, you must reverse your approach to life. Instead of reacting to what is, you must determine within yourself what will be. Your inner world must take precedence over external conditions. The moment you accept a new state of consciousness as your truth, the world begins to shift in unseen ways to reflect it. You do not need to force change upon the outer world. You only need to persist in your new assumption, and reality will rearrange itself accordingly. Think of the world as a mirror. If you stand before a mirror with a frown, you cannot demand the reflection to smile first. You must change your expression, and only then will the reflection change. The same principle applies to life. If you desire abundance but hold on to thoughts of lack, the world will continue to reflect scarcity. If you wish to be loved but persist in feeling unworthy, you will attract situations that confirm that belief. The world does not give you what you want. It gives you who you are in consciousness. This is why it is essential to become deeply aware of your dominant thoughts and emotions. Every moment you are shaping your reality by what you accept as true. If you wake up each day feeling defeated, expecting hardship, and doubting your own power, you will continue to experience situations that reinforce those feelings. But if you begin each day with the conviction that you are powerful, worthy, and abundant, the world will respond accordingly. It is not enough to simply wish for change. You must embody it. You must live from the assumption that what you desire is already yours. This means thinking, feeling, and acting as the person who already possesses everything they seek. It is not about pretending or forcing, but about truly believing in the reality of your new state. When you assume a new consciousness, your entire vibration shifts, attracting to you the people, opportunities, and circumstances that match it. The moment you change your state of consciousness, you set into motion an invisible process of transformation. The world may not shift instantly, but the change has begun. Just as a seed does not sprout the moment it is planted, reality takes time to reorganize itself around your new assumption. Your only task is to remain faithful to the state you have chosen, trusting that what you hold within will inevitably be expressed without. No matter what your current circumstances may be, they are only a reflection of past assumptions. They do not define you, nor do they have the power to limit you. The only thing that matters is what you now choose to believe. Accept the truth that you are the creator of your experience, and you will no longer feel powerless in the face of life. You will understand that by shifting your inner world, you can shift any external condition. Reality is fluid, shaped entirely by consciousness. You do not need to change the world. You only need to change yourself. The outer world is simply a mirror. Change your inner state, and the reflection must follow. The key to manifesting anything in life is to assume and embody the feeling of already having it. Most people live in a state of wanting, constantly looking at their desires as something distant, something they must strive toward. But desire, when viewed as separate from you, remains just that, something outside of you. The secret is to step into the state of already having, already being, and already experiencing what you wish for. You must not wait for external confirmation before you believe in your new reality. You must claim it within first, and the outer world will follow. Everything you experience is shaped by your inner world, your beliefs, assumptions, and emotions. When you assume a state, you begin to think, act, and feel as if it were already true. And because consciousness is the only reality, what you persistently assume will eventually become your physical experience. The world does not operate on effort alone. It operates on vibration, frequency, and alignment. If you are constantly yearning for something, you are affirming its absence. But when you embody the feeling of already possessing it, you send out a signal that attracts it to you effortlessly. Think of a person who is confident in their wealth. They do not obsess over money, nor do they question whether they will have enough. They live with a quiet assurance that wealth is theirs. This inner knowing shapes their actions, their decisions, and their interactions with the world. They carry themselves differently, they speak differently, and opportunities naturally gravitate toward them. Contrast this with someone who feels financially insecure. They are always in a state of worry, fear, and lack. Their mind constantly affirms scarcity, and as a result, their world reflects that back to them. The difference between these two individuals is not in their external circumstances but in their inner states. To assume and embody your desire, you must first ask yourself, if I already had what I want, how would I feel? This question is the gateway to transformation. Once you determine the feeling, you must cultivate it within you until it becomes your natural state. If you desire love, embody the feeling of being deeply loved and cherished. If you desire success, assume the confidence of one who is already successful. Do not wait for external proof. Act as though your wish is already fulfilled. One of the greatest obstacles people face is doubt. The logical mind wants to question, to seek evidence before believing. But reality does not work that way. The unseen comes before the seen. Your consciousness precedes your circumstances. Just as a sculptor sees the finished work in their mind before shaping the stone, you must see yourself as already possessing your desire before it takes form. The mistake many make is to wait for the world to change before changing their inner state, but the law is clear. What you assume within must be expressed without. A simple yet powerful exercise is to live each day as though your desire has already manifested. If you were already living in your dream home, how would you walk through it? If you already had the perfect relationship, how would you feel waking up next to your partner? If you were already successful, how would you approach your work? Embody these feelings now, and the world will rearrange itself to match them. It is not about pretending or deceiving yourself. It is about shifting your consciousness to a new state of being. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It simply accepts the impressions you give it. When you consistently assume a new state, the subconscious begins to accept it as truth. This is why visualization is such a powerful tool. When you close your eyes and imagine yourself already living your desired reality, you impress that image upon your subconscious. If done with feeling and persistence, this image begins to solidify in your outer world. However, assumption is not just about visualization. It is about living in the state of the wish fulfilled. This means not contradicting your assumption with thoughts of doubt, fear, or impatience. Many people assume for a moment and then immediately return to their old state of lack, undoing the work they have done. True assumption requires faith and persistence. You must hold on to your new state regardless of what the outer world currently shows you. Think of a seed planted in the ground. You do not dig it up each day to check if it is growing. You trust that it is taking root even when you see nothing on the surface. The same principle applies to your desires. Once you have assumed them, you must trust that they are unfolding even if there is no immediate evidence. The world may seem unchanged at first, but beneath the surface, forces are aligning in your favor. Your job is not to figure out how your desire will manifest. The how is not your concern. The moment you try to control the process, you introduce resistance. Your only responsibility is to maintain the assumption, to live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and to let reality take care of the details. The path to manifestation will reveal itself in ways you could never predict, often through a series of seemingly natural events. This is not about blind faith, but about understanding the mechanics of consciousness. When you assume and persist in a new state, you activate a law that is as certain as gravity. You may encounter tests, moments where the old reality seems to fight back, but these are merely reflections of past assumptions. Do not be swayed by them. Remain steadfast, knowing that what you hold within must externalize. The moment you fully embody your desire without needing external confirmation is the moment you shift into alignment with it. You do not need to seek, strive, or beg for what is already yours. Walk as though you have it now, and reality will have no choice but to comply. The way you think, feel, and act in this present moment determines what unfolds in your life. Reality does not respond to wishful thinking or fleeting desires. It mirrors back your dominant state of being. If you desire wealth, success, or love, you must not wait for external circumstances to change before you feel worthy or abundant. You must embody that feeling, now living in the assumption that what you seek is already yours. When you carry yourself with the certainty of someone who has already received their desire, the world has no choice but to reflect that truth back to you. Most people live in reaction to what is. They look at their current circumstances and allow them to dictate their emotions and beliefs. If their bank account is low, they feel poor. If they are single, they feel unloved. If their career is stagnant, they assume they are not meant for success. But this is the opposite of how reality truly works. Your outer world is nothing more than a mirror of your inner state. It does not create your consciousness, it reflects it. If you continue to wait for circumstances to change before you feel different, you will remain stuck in the same cycle, repeating the same experiences over and over again. The power lies in shifting your internal state first. Instead of looking to the world for proof that you are successful, wealthy, or loved, you must cultivate that feeling within yourself. This does not mean forcing positivity or denying your current reality. It means choosing to align your thoughts and emotions with the version of yourself that already has what you seek. The more you persist in this state, the faster reality conforms to it. The key is consistency, remaining unwavering in your assumption, regardless of what your senses may tell you. Consider how a person who already possesses what you desire would think and behave. If you seek financial abundance, how would a wealthy person approach their day? They would not dwell on lack, stress over bills, or question whether money is coming to them. They would operate from a mindset of security, ease, and confidence. They would make decisions based on abundance, not fear. If you wish to attract love, how would someone who is deeply cherished and adored carry themselves? They would not feel desperate or unworthy. They would exude self-assurance, peace, and contentment. If success is your goal, how does a successful person move through life? They trust in their abilities. They take bold actions, and they know that opportunities flow effortlessly to them. When you begin to embody these qualities, before the physical evidence appears, you activate the unseen forces that shape reality. Your energy shifts, and so does the way people and circumstances respond to you. You no longer operate from a state of lack, waiting for something outside of you to make you feel whole. Instead, you generate the feeling internally, and the world must mirror it back to you. Many people struggle with this concept because they have been conditioned to believe in the limitations of the physical world. They trust what their eyes see more than what their mind creates. But the truth is, what you see now is only a reflection of past thoughts and beliefs. If you continue to react to the current state of things, you will keep creating more of the same. The only way to break free is to start seeing beyond the physical, to trust in the unseen, and to hold the assumption that your desire is already yours. Doubt is one of the biggest obstacles in this process. The logical mind wants to question, analyze, and demand proof. But manifestation does not operate on proof. It operates on faith and persistence. The moment you give in to doubt, you undo the work of assumption. If you plant a seed and constantly dig it up to see if it is growing, you will disrupt its process. The same applies to your desires. Once you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you must trust that it is unfolding even if there are no immediate signs. Your job is not to worry about how your desire will come to pass. The how is never your responsibility. The mind is limited in its ability to predict the infinite ways in which reality can shift. The only thing you must do is remain faithful to your new state of being. The means will reveal themselves naturally through a series of seemingly ordinary events that in hindsight will appear perfectly orchestrated. The more you try to force or control the process, the more resistance you create. Let go of the need to figure it all out. Assume the feeling, persist in it, and allow reality to catch up. A powerful practice is to begin each day as if your desire has already been fulfilled. Before you even step out of bed, take a moment to feel the emotions you would feel if your manifestation were already a reality. Walk through your day with the confidence, joy, and ease of someone who already possesses what they seek. Speak, act, and think as if you are already living in that reality. This is not about pretending or tricking yourself. It is about shifting your inner state so completely that the world must conform to it. Think of an actor who fully immerses themselves in a role. They do not simply recite lines, they become the character. Their thoughts, emotions, and mannerisms align with the role they are playing, and in doing so, they bring that character to life. In the same way, you must fully embody the version of yourself who already has what you desire. When this becomes your dominant state, manifestation is inevitable. Patience and persistence are key. Many people give up too soon because they do not see immediate results. They assume that because nothing appears to be changing on the surface, their assumption is not working. But just as a seed grows beneath the soil before sprouting into view, your new reality is taking shape even when you cannot see it. The timing of its appearance depends on your ability to remain faithful to. If you waver between belief and doubt, you delay the process. But if you hold steady, refusing to entertain thoughts of failure or lack, your new reality will manifest in ways beyond your imagination. It is also important to detach from needing your desire to manifest in a specific way. The universe is limitless in its capacity to bring your assumption into form. If you become fixated on one particular outcome, you may block even greater possibilities. Hold your vision, but remain open to the infinite ways it can unfold. The feeling is what matters, not the specific details of how it arrives. The moment you stop looking outside for confirmation and start generating the feeling from within, you shift into a state of true power. You no longer chase, strive, or struggle. You simply are living as if your wish is already fulfilled, knowing that reality has no choice but to reflect that truth back to you. Every experience in life is a reflection of your inner world. The thoughts you entertain, the emotions you dwell in, and the assumptions you hold shape the reality you live in. If you believe you are lacking, if you see yourself as someone who is always struggling, then life will continuously provide circumstances to confirm that belief. If you walk through the world feeling unworthy, people will mirror that back to you. If you carry the assumption that things never work out for you, you will find yourself in a constant state of frustration. You are always living in the reflection of what you assume to be true about yourself and the world. The key to transformation is recognizing that your assumptions are not passive thoughts. They are creative forces shaping the very fabric of your experience. If you assume you are abundant, life responds with abundance. If you assume you are loved, you encounter love in unexpected ways. If you assume success is inevitable, the path to success unfolds before you, often in ways you never could have planned. It is not about wishing or hoping. It is about knowing. Assumption is the act of accepting something as fact before it appears in the physical world. It is the unwavering belief that what you desire is already yours, even if the senses have not yet caught up. Most people live by the evidence of their senses. They look at their bank account, their relationships, or their circumstances and use what they see to determine what they believe is possible. But reality does not work that way. The external world is a delayed reflection of the internal world. The thoughts you held yesterday, the emotions you dwelt in last week, and the beliefs you carried last month are shaping your current experience. If you want to change what you see, you must first change what you assume to be true. This requires a radical shift in how you move through life. You can no longer afford to be a passive observer, reacting to circumstances as they appear. You must take control of your inner world and decide with conviction that what you desire is already yours. Assume it boldly. Walk through life as though your wish is already fulfilled. Feel the joy, the relief, the excitement that you would feel if you had it now. Do not look to the outside world for validation. Let your assumption be enough. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending something exists when it does not. It means understanding that reality is fluid, constantly reshaping itself to match your dominant state of being. You're not bound by what is, you are bound only by what you believe is possible. If you assume lack, you will see lack. If you assume wealth, you will see wealth. If you assume health, you will see health. It all begins with assumption. Consider someone who desires financial freedom but constantly worries about money. They may work hard, set goals, and take action. But if their dominant assumption is that money is scarce, they will continue to struggle. Their actions may be in the right direction, but their internal state contradicts their desire. The external world does not respond to effort alone. It responds to the assumption behind the effort. If this person shifts their assumption and begins to believe with certainty that they are financially abundant, they will start to see evidence of that belief. New opportunities will arise. Unexpected sources of income will appear and they will begin to experience the wealth they assumed was theirs. The same principle applies to relationships. If someone believes deep down that they are unworthy of love, they will attract relationships that confirm that belief. They may meet people who treat them poorly, who are emotionally unavailable, or who reinforce feelings of rejection. But if they shift their assumption and begin to see themselves as deeply loved and cherished, the outer world must reflect that new assumption. They will encounter people who respect, appreciate, and adore them not because they changed the external world, but because they changed their internal world. This is why assumption is the foundation of all manifestation. It does not matter how much action you take or how many affirmations you repeat. If your dominant assumption contradicts your desire, you will not see lasting change. Your subconscious mind accepts what you assume to be true, and it rearranges reality accordingly. This is why some people seem to attract success effortlessly while others struggle for years with no results. It is not luck, it is not chance, it is assumption. Those who succeed assume they will succeed, and so they do. Those who fail assume failure is inevitable, and so it is. Doubt is the greatest enemy of assumption. The moment you question whether your desire is possible, you introduce resistance. Doubt is an assumption in itself, an assumption that what you want may not happen. The mind will always try to present reasons why your assumption is unrealistic. It will remind you of past failures, point out obstacles, and insist that reality does not change so easily. But the mind is only repeating what it has been conditioned to believe. The truth is, reality is far more malleable than most people realize. It is constantly being shaped by the assumptions you hold, whether consciously or unconsciously. To master assumption, you must learn to persist. You must hold to your belief even when the outer world has not yet changed. You must remain unwavering in your conviction, knowing that your assumption is more real than what your senses tell you. If you assume wealth, do not let a temporary financial setback shake your belief. If you assume love, do not let an argument or a period of loneliness make you doubt. If you assume success, do not let a temporary failure convince you otherwise. These are simply echoes of past assumptions playing out. Stay firm in your new belief, and the world must conform. One of the most powerful ways to strengthen an assumption is to act in accordance with it. If you assume you're wealthy, carry yourself with the confidence of someone who is financially secure. If you assume you are loved, move through the world with the assurance of someone who is cherished. If you assume success, take actions as though success is already yours. This does not mean reckless spending, arrogance, or blind faith. It means aligning your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with the version of yourself that already has what you seek. The more you embody the assumption, the faster it solidifies into reality. At first, this may feel unnatural. The mind may resist offering reasons why your assumption is unrealistic. But do not be discouraged. This is simply the old programming fighting to maintain control. The key is persistence. Continue to assume, continue to feel, continue to believe, and eventually the mind will accept the new reality as fact. And once it does, the world will change to reflect it. There is no force outside of you determining what you can or cannot have. You are the creator of your experience, shaping reality through the assumptions you hold. If you want something, assume it is already yours. Live in that assumption. Breathe it, feel it, walk in it. The world has no choice but to align itself with the reality you assume to be true. Everything in your life is a reflection of the state of being you persistently assume to be true. You cannot separate yourself from your assumptions, for they dictate what you experience. The world you see, the circumstances you encounter, and the people you interact with are all shaped by the dominant beliefs you hold. When you persist in a particular assumption, reality has no choice but to conform to it. The key is understanding that this process is not instantaneous. It requires faith, patience, and unwavering commitment to what you have chosen to believe. Most people waver in their assumptions. They may believe in abundance for a moment, but as soon as they check their bank account and see a number that contradicts their assumption, they revert to their old belief in lack. They may assume they are loved, but the moment they face rejection or loneliness, they begin to question their worth. This is why many never see the fulfillment of their desires. They do not persist. They let external circumstances dictate their inner world instead of holding firm to their chosen assumption. Reality bends to persistence, not to fleeting thoughts or momentary affirmations. The world does not change because you simply wish for it to. It changes because you persist in the conviction that it already has. This is the secret that so many overlook. When you assume something and hold to it without allowing doubt to creep in, the entire structure of reality begins to shift in response. The people you meet, the opportunities that arise, and the events that unfold all begin to align with the state of being you have claimed as your own. But you must remain steadfast in that assumption, regardless of what your senses tell you. Most people let circumstances dictate their beliefs. If they see evidence of failure, they assume they are failing. If they see a lack of progress, they assume their efforts are in vain. But the outer world is simply a reflection of past assumptions. And if you continue to react to what is, you will keep creating more of the same. You must break the cycle by persisting in a new assumption, even when there is no visible proof to support it. You must trust in the unseen, knowing that what you have assumed is already taking shape beneath the surface. There is no power in the external world greater than the power within you. Everything you see around you was once an unseen assumption. Every success story, every great achievement, every miraculous transformation began with an individual who dared to persist in their vision even when there was no evidence to support it. They lived as if it were already true, and by doing so they called it into existence. You must do the same. Doubt is the greatest enemy of persistence. The moment you allow doubt to take root, you introduce resistance into your creation. The mind will always try to question, analyze, and rationalize. It will look at the external world and point out every reason why your assumption cannot be true. It will remind you of past failures, highlight obstacles, and insist that reality does not change so easily. But the mind is simply reflecting old conditioning. If you listen to it, you will remain stuck in the same cycle. You must train yourself to persist beyond doubt. When negative thoughts arise, do not entertain them. When circumstances seem to contradict your assumption, remind yourself that they are only temporary echoes of past beliefs. Hold firm to your new assumption as if your life depended on it. Speak it, think it, feel it, embody it. Do not allow anything to shake your conviction. If you persist, reality will have no choice but to shift. The reason so many fail to manifest their desires is that they give up too soon. They assume something for a day, a week, or even a month. But when they see no immediate change, they abandon their belief. They return to their old assumptions, reinforcing the same unwanted circumstances. But the truth is, the moment you assume something with unwavering persistence, it is already done. The only thing that delays its appearance is your own wavering belief. Consider the process of planting a seed. When you plant a seed in the soil, you do not dig it up every day to check if it is growing. You trust that beneath the surface, unseen forces are at work. You water it, nurture it, and give it time to grow. If you were to uproot it every time doubt crept in, it would never have the chance to take root. The same principle applies to assumption. Once you plant the seed of belief, you must nurture it with persistence, trusting that it will manifest in its perfect time. There is nothing in the universe that can deny you what you assume with full conviction. Reality is not separate from you. It is created by you. If you persist in the assumption that you are wealthy, the world will move in ways beyond your comprehension to bring that wealth to you. If you persist in the assumption that you are loved, love will find its way to you regardless of past experiences. If you persist in the assumption of success, opportunities will arise, doors will open, and circumstances will align to fulfill that assumption. But you must remain faithful to it. No matter what appears in the moment, you are not bound by time. The external world takes time to catch up to your inner world. But the moment you assume something, it is already real. You may not see the evidence right away, but that does not mean it is not in motion. Everything you assume with conviction is already set in motion, working behind the scenes to align itself with your belief. Your only task is to persist until the physical world reflects what you have claimed internally. The mind may try to convince you that you are lying to yourself, that you are delusional for assuming something that is not yet visible. But reality itself is an illusion shaped by the assumptions you hold. The moment you fully embody an assumption, the illusion shifts to match it. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. There is no secret technique, no external force you need to seek out. The only thing required is persistence. Do not look to the world for confirmation. Do not seek validation from others. Do not waver when doubt arises. Simply persist. Persist in the feeling of already having what you desire. Persist in the belief that it is already yours. Persist until it becomes so natural that you no longer question it. And when you do, reality will bend to your assumption, for it has no choice but to reflect what you have persistently claimed as true. Reality is shaped by the assumptions you persist in. And when you fully commit to an idea, the external world has no choice but to conform. The moment you decide that something is yours and refuse to accept anything contrary to that belief, the universe reorganizes itself to bring your assumption into physical reality. The power to shape your world is not in effort, struggle, or external action. It is in the unwavering persistence of your assumption. Most people allow their assumptions to be dictated by what they see, hear, and experience. They look at their bank account and assume lack. They observe their relationships and assume loneliness. They assess their progress and assume failure. But all of these conditions are simply reflections of past assumptions, not fixed realities. If you continue to react to what is, you will only reinforce it. But if you choose to persist in a new assumption, despite what your senses tell you, you begin to alter the very fabric of your reality. There is no force outside of you dictating what you can or cannot have. The only limitation is your own willingness to persist. Every person who has ever achieved great success, overcome hardship, or transformed their life has done so by holding steadfastly to an inner vision. They did not let temporary setbacks deter them. They did not allow doubt to take root. They persisted in their belief even when everything around them seemed to contradict it. And in time, reality yielded to their assumption. Your assumption is like a seed planted in the soil of consciousness. If you plant a seed and continuously dig it up to check if it is growing, you will only hinder its progress. In the same way, if you assume something and then doubt it, question it, or seek external validation, you disrupt the natural process of its manifestation. The key is to persist without wavering, to hold the assumption so firmly in mind that it becomes your dominant reality, even before the external world confirms it. Most people underestimate the power of their assumptions because they expect immediate results. They assume something for a day or two, and when they see no change, they revert to their old way of thinking. But reality operates on a delay. There is a period of unseen transformation before the physical manifestation appears. The only thing required during this period is persistence. Imagine a sculptor working on a block of marble. At first, the block appears unchanged. The sculptor continues chiseling, refining, and shaping, even though the final form is not yet visible. If the sculptor gave up after the first few strokes, the masterpiece would never emerge. The same is true of your assumptions. You must continue holding them even when there is no visible sign of progress. Every moment you persist, you are shaping the unseen forces of reality. There's no greater power in existence than the persistence of an assumed belief. Everything you desire already exists in a state of potential. The only thing separating you from it is your ability to assume it is already yours. You do not need to know how it will come to pass. You do not need to force circumstances to change. Your only task is to persist in the assumption until it becomes so real in your mind that the external world has no choice but to reflect it. Doubt is the only thing that can delay or deny your manifestation. The moment you begin to question whether your assumption is working, you introduce resistance into the process. Doubt is the act of assuming something contrary to your desire. When you persist in an assumption, you cannot entertain its opposite. You cannot assume abundance while simultaneously fearing lack. You cannot assume love while doubting your worthiness. You cannot assume success while fixating on failure. The mind cannot hold two opposing beliefs at once. Whichever you persist in will become your reality. This is why persistence is the key to transformation. It is not enough to assume something for a moment or a day. You must live in the certainty of its truth, regardless of what the outside world appears to show you. When you persist in the assumption that you already own everything you desire, reality moves to confirm it. Doors open where there were none before. Opportunities arise in unexpected ways. People and circumstances shift in alignment with your belief. The world is a mirror reflecting back to you the state of consciousness you occupy. If you want to change what appears in the mirror, you must first change within. Persist in the assumption that you are already the person who has what you desire. Walk, talk, think, and feel as if it is already true. Do not wait for evidence. Become the embodiment of your assumption. Now, when you persist in this way, the world cannot help but conform. The process is simple. Yet most fail because they do not persist. They allow their senses to deceive them. They let external circumstances shake their belief. They listen to the doubts of others and question their own power. But those who persist, who refuse to accept anything less than the fulfillment of their assumption, are the ones who reshape reality itself. Nothing is outside your reach. There is no desire too great, no dream too distant. The only requirement is that you persist in the assumption that it is already yours. Do not concern yourself with how it will happen. Do not look to the world for confirmation. Simply assume, persist, and allow reality to catch up to your belief. When you do, you will see the world shift in ways that seem miraculous, yet were inevitable all along. There is nothing in this world that can deny you what you assume with unwavering conviction. The external world is not separate from you. It is shaped by you. The moment you claim something as yours and persist in that assumption, reality begins to shift in ways beyond your comprehension. You do not need to beg, chase, or force anything into existence. Simply live in the certainty that what you desire is already yours, and the world will adjust to reflect that truth. Doubt and hesitation are the only barriers to your manifestation. The moment you waver, you delay the fulfillment of your desire. But when you remain steadfast, refusing to let external circumstances shake your belief, you align yourself with the creative power that governs all things. You do not need to look for signs or seek proof. Persist in the assumption and the proof will appear. You hold within you the power to shape your reality. Persist, believe, and live as though you already own everything you desire. The world will respond accordingly, for it has no choice but to reflect the state of being you have claimed as your own.